We'll definitely see the return of some of those high clouds, and around the lunchtime hour, those winds really picked up, and they're going to be with us for the entire weekend. They could be gusting up to 35 miles per hour. So now is your warning to tie down any loose objects and definitely hold on to that cowboy hat. We're watching those temperatures over the last 24 hours, and because this high pressure is really making its way in, we're seeing those temperatures cool off a little bit more. We said that we were going to get down to the 50s last night, definitely dropped down into those upper 40s, making for a good 40-degree run up into those upper 80s, and that's where we're leveling out for now, with that southerly flow still helping keep things warm into the evening, if not seeing a little bit of that cloud cover trap some of that daytime heating. Right now 86 in San Angelo. Everybody else joining us in a combination of 80s and 70s, and it's looking like a good 8 degrees across the entire Concho Valley right now, only because we're still seeing a lot of those southerly winds keep things relatively warm and away from the general cooling that we see typically associated with dry weather and high pressure around this time of the year. Speaking of dry, that's where we're at right now, as those dew points are well below the freezing mark, except for down in Junction. They've been seeing heat all week long. Right now, those humidity indices, though, are down into the teens, and we'll see if they don't make their way up into the 20s, if not the 30s. But we are talking about the return of some of this moisture and the severe weather associated with it. Steve and I were taking a good look at those blue concentrations. Take a good look at East Texas. That's looking pretty intense. The dry line definitely further off towards the west, and it looks like we're right in the crosshairs for it. But when we take a good look at the upper level pattern, we're starting to see some of this steering. Here's these high winds that we're really seeing out of the south-southeast, and it's going to continue to pull moisture up as that low pressure continues its approach across the Rocky Mountains. And then by Tuesday, Wednesday, that's where we're expected to see some of this rain shower activity, at least in the evening, before we start to see just how intense this gets. A right along Tornado Alley, and right behind it, we're seeing a little bit of ridging, but we're talking about dropping into the 70s with this cold front making its way through. Right now, we're watching as this high pressure continues to ridge over central United States, finally drying things off for the Masters, but we are still seeing the return of some of those high clouds here in the Concho Valley. But if you look off towards the west, these two systems are setting up for our next round of severe weather. We're getting a closer look, more localization here in the Concho Valley, taking a good look at these high clouds making their way in from the subtropical jet. And the Futurecast is going to show you how they're really going to stay with us through the rest of the evening. The green showing you how low those clouds will actually get. And then by the morning, they're going to sort of clear up, maybe a few clouds. And then as the evening starts to push back in, if you find yourself out at the rodeo, those clouds definitely going to keep you cool, and they're going to make their way in all night, and then they're going to stay with us all weekend long. And by the time we get to Monday, could squeeze out a couple drops. But we really want to focus on those winds, really staying strong out of the south, about 20 miles per hour. Keep your eye on Junction, as it could get up to 30 miles per hour. And then as we make our way at least towards Saturday night, that's where we're going to start to see them start to calm down towards the west, and that could kick off that round of thunderstorm activity that we've been talking about all week long. It was a pretty busy one when we're talking about a solar eclipse, tornadoes, severe weather. We were one day away from Friday the 13th, but tonight dropping back down into the 50s, still holding on to some of those warmer conditions and those winds. We'll see if we don't get any cooler than that. Then tomorrow we're having a beautiful day in the 90s if it doesn't get any warmer than that, but we're still holding on to those winds, so definitely get out there, take advantage of that rodeo, because it's going to be beautiful. Get a funnel cake for me for sure, because I'm definitely jonesing for one. And then we're going to stay there in those 90s as we make our way through the weekend, and then by Monday we could see some of those storms push through, at least in the evening time. By Tuesday we're still holding on to some of that heat, but take a good look at this cold snap. We're right back down into the 70s by next week, while those lows are fighting back and forth between the 60s and those 50s, and we're still holding out for some more rain. So we'll see if we don't see any more from some of these low clouds and that severe weather pushing through, and then we'll see just how intense that severe weather gets. Stay tuned. More after the break. You're watching KSAN News at 5.